You don't hear anything. This is the door to Yvette Delacroix's office.
My Ernie, he was a wonderful man. I really loved him.
Oh, sure you did. I know your type, Yvette. I know you didn't really love him.
But I did. Ernie was the first man I've ever really loved. I was even trying to find work for him so he could make the extra money.
Why did he need extra money? He had a good job here, didn't he?
It was the gambling. The ice pick. He killed my Ernie for the gambling debts.
Ernie wasn't killed with an ice pick.
No, the ice pick is the... how do you say it? The lone fish.
Lone fish? Oh, you mean ice pick is the name of a loan shark?
Oui, the ice pick is an evil man.
You're sure he's the one who killed Ernie?
My Ernie, he was worried about the ice pick. He told me about him this evening.
Very curious. I'm surprised you had time to see Ernie tonight.
Why is that?
Because you've been spending so much time with Mr. Dorian.
Oh, you mean the Steve? He is the attractive man, but we are only the friends, no? But my Ernie, what will I do without him?
I can see you're upset. I'll leave you alone. Steve! Mr. Dorian.
Miss Bow.
Thank you for showing me your scars, Steve. They were very, very nice.
Haven't seen you in a while, Mr. Dorian.
Well, women keep carrying me off.
Carrying you off?
Yeah. First, Miss Delacroix pulled me away from the party to show me the old master's gallery. Then there was Dr. Miklos. She's been pestering me about my scars ever since she found out I worked on the docks. Weird lady.
You don't seem too upset by all the attention.
Well, I would rather have spent the time with you.
I'd think a big, strong man like you would have been able to get away from them if you wanted to do so.
Well, I hate to be rude, and I did end up finding you here.
Have you heard about the murders?
Murders? Oh, I guess somebody did mention that.
You seem kind of distracted.
Yeah, well, I've got news for you, too. I think some of the paintings in the old master's gallery are forgeries. The paint is still wet on some of them.
Yes, well, I hardly think that...
Oh, Steve, a terrible thing has happened. Ernie is dead.
Ernie?
Yes, my Ernie. What will I do? Oh, I need a big man to cry on. Please, come into my office.
Sorry, Miss Bow. The poor woman seems very upset. Maybe there's something I can do for her.
I can just guess what that is.
We can talk more later, okay?
We'll see about that.
You hear muffled voices coming through the door to Yvette's office.
Ooh la la.
How does that feel?
It is magnifique.
I'm not rubbing too hard, am I?
The harder the better, mon ami.
Well, we all get a little stiff now and then.
Ooh, and you are so good at working out the kinks.
Would you mind not moaning so loud? You might draw attention.
Ooh, Oh, I cannot be helping it. You are so big and so strong.
Oh my.
Oh, dear!
Miss Bo,
Sacré bleu.
I can explain this.
I bet you can, Mr. Dorian.
I'm just rubbing her neck.
Oui, and he does it so well.
I'll just leave you two alone.
Miss Bo, wait.
This door is locked.
Now, Dr. Miklos, what was it you wanted?
Well, I saw you admiring the swords on some of the armor displays. So, I thought you might want to see this beautiful specimen of Mr. Heimlich's.
Thank you, I suppose. It is quite beautiful. Was it forged in Toledo, Spain?
Yes, it was. Wool, Mr. Heimlich keeps it very sharp, as you can see. It's... Stop!
What is it, woman?
Mr. Heimlich has been having trouble with the mounting of that sword, Mr. Najir. If you were to touch it, it would more than likely fall off the wall and kill you.
Oh, my. How can I ever thank you, Dr. Miklos? You seem to have saved my life.
Let me see. Do you have any scars or tattoos, Mr. Najir?
Well, yes, I suppose I do. Just the foolish thing that I had done in my impulsive youth.
Ah, please let me see it, Mr. Najir. It would make me so very happy.
Oh, Dr. Miklos, this is very embarrassing. I'd rather not.
Are you forgetting that I just saved you from almost certain beheading, Mr. Najir?
No. Very well. I will show you. Just a minute. Let me take off my shoes.
Your shoes! How exciting!
Here they are. Look quickly. What if someone were to come in?
Ah, how beautiful. Egyptian sun symbols, yes?
Yes, please, may I put my shoes back on now?
Oh, if you must. I've never seen tattoos on the bottom of the feet before, Mr. Najir. Tell me, did it hurt very much? Did you bleed?
Yes.
Ah.
This door is locked.
Achtung! This is not the public part of the museum. This area is verboten to you and all of your kind. Leave now before you force me to shoot you.
Mr. Heimlich, how do you suppose the thieves got past you? Wasn't the dagger supposed to be heavily guarded?
Of course it was guarded. I have no idea how they got the dagger. They must have drugged me. They must have hypnotized me. They must have been ghosts.
Mr. Heimlich, are you all right?
That must be it. They were ghosts. I couldn't have possibly missed them. I couldn't have.
Mr. Heimlich?
Oh, Mutter, I'm sorry I let you down. I'm sorry they got your paintings. Please try to paint again, wherever you are. Please.
I'm sorry if I upset you.
My mother, she was so heartbroken when her paintings were stolen from the museum in Germany. It was her first exhibition. She was so happy until...
Perhaps we should change the subject.
Subject? What subject? What are you talking about, you silly girl?
Oh, never mind.
Dr. Miklos is a fine woman. She is truly dedicated to the security of the Lion Decker. He is a bumbling fool who does not care about this museum. I do not need his help. I do not need anyone's help, least of all yours. I do not know him, but if I did, I would practice my Heimlich death maneuver on him. Criminals should not be allowed to live. They could all be art thieves. I do not trust her. I do not trust you. I do not trust anyone. He works on the docks. He has red hair. He has no scars on his face. I do not trust him. I live, breathe, eat and sleep to defend this museum. It is my father and my child. I love it. Do not touch the exhibits! He did not care for the museum. He wished he could keep his finds, but they belong to the Lion Decker, and we intend to keep them. Do you understand me? I do not trust him. I do not know why he's here. I think he is an art thief. They are everywhere. Annie was the decent man, and when I find the murdering coward who drowned him, they will be crushed in my powerful hands. He was a good man, and I will miss him. When I find the coward who stuck him on the porcupine, they will wish they had never been born. Fräulein Delacroix is a charming young lady. She loves the museum, and she is a work of art herself. I admire women who take good care of their bodies as we military men do. He wanted the dagger all along. He probably stole it. I should kill him right now, but I have no evidence. Achtung! This is...
You see a very tall security man in a military-style uniform. His badge identifies him as Wolf Heimlich, and his appearance suggests that he has never smiled in his life. Don't touch it. Best to leave this room right where it is. Otherwise Ernie won't be able to find it when he comes It's a sack of plaster, sometimes used for making molds. You don't hear anything. One of those new portable typewriters. At a mere £50, you can take it anywhere. Well, you could if it was useful to you, which it isn't, so forget it. It's on the floor, but it's actually a desk lamp. It looks like a shred of clothing fabric. You don't need it. Leave it here for the police. It looks like a piece of fabric torn from Yvette's dress, possibly in a moment of passion. A close look seems to indicate that the red hairs belong to a human. Feels like red hair. Feels like red hair. The backs of the high heels on this expensive woman's shoe are heavily scuffed. You pick it up and place it in your purse. The chair is made of wood, and it smells like Yvette's perfume. The sculpture gives off a strong smell of fresh plaster. You magnify the importance of the old Masters Gallery. The subject of this sculpture looks curiously familiar. Yvette's face doesn't look as good in death as it did in life, perhaps because her makeup is covered with plaster dust. It's Yvette's left hand. Looks can be deceiving. It appears to be a pair of bifocal glasses. There appears to be a fingerprint on one of the lenses of the bifocals, although you have no way to identify it. You pick it up and place it in your purse. Definitely red hairs, probably human. You pick it up and place it in your purse. The scarf clearly isn't a scarf. It's the silk hosiery Yvette was wearing earlier in the evening. Her neck under the scarf shows red friction burns, as if she was strangled. This makes you wonder if she died during a passionate moment or had simply developed the habit of wearing silk hose around her neck. Nice weave in the hardened fabric of the dress. There is plaster in all of the openings on Yvette's face. Mouth, nostrils, eyes, ears. She has several scratches on her face, as well as cuts on her lips. Yvette's face feels stiff from rigor mortis. A bit of plaster dust comes off on your finger when you touch her cold skin. Yvette's formerly soft hair is now stiff, as a result of being plastered to her head. Yvette's face feels stiff. Yvette's bare, plaster-dusted dead flesh feels stiff and cold. The work boot is size 12 EEE. A smelly old work boot. You pick it up and place it in your purse. The blood is red and almost dry. There seems to have been a struggle here. Don't touch it. You don't know where it's been. A full bottle of Dr. Moribund's guaranteed snake oil.
Countess, why are you tied up on my desk? Your face has certainly changed to an attractive pale color, my dear. You seem a little under the weather. Are you okay? Oh dear, you don't look well at all. O'Reilly! You want Mr. O'Reilly? Okay, just wait right here and I'll go get him. Hello, Miss Bo. Do you know where Mr. O'Reilly is?
Well, no, not exactly. I assume he's still in the museum.
Well, I'll find him. If you see him first, would you tell him that the Countess is dying on the desk in my office?
The Countess is dying? What's wrong with her?
Well, she's looking rather pale. Her eyes are glazed, and she's not breathing much. I'd guessed she'd been bitten by a snake.
By a snake?
Must you keep repeating everything I say? In any case, I've got to go now.
The cobra displays one deadly fang. He seems to mean business.
Oh!
A little bunch of grapes. chilled. You remember something about grapes being found alongside the victims of Jack the Ripper. You pick it up and place it in your purse. The Countess is looking rather pale. She seems surprised that she died here on Olympia's desk. The skin on her hand is as pale as her face, showing minor signs of lividity in the palms. It's the bound and dead body of the Countess Lavinia Waldorf Carlton. It's a dead woman's ankle. It's the dead leg of the Countess. It's the bound. The scent of the smelling salts is overpowering at this close range. You pick it up and place it in your purse. You detect a trickle of what could prove to be cobra venom. You deem it wise not to touch it when you remember that it's a neurotoxin that causes progressive paralysis leading to respiratory failure. That biology class was useful after all. While this is an... Her bloodshot eyes are open and staring into infinity. Her lips have a bluish tint. There are no signs of violence on or around her face or head. Her fingernails are clean and unbroken, showing no signs of violence. Don't touch it. Don't touch it. Don't touch it. Don't touch it. A bottle of Dr. Moribund's guaranteed snake oil. It's 1/4 full. You're a model of investigative brilliance. We salute you, Laura. Well-timed silence. There was silence supreme. You hear the sound of someone breaking down a door in the next room. While looks. Don't touch it. Don't touch. Don't touch. Don't. You pick it up and place it in your purse. While the snake shifts just a little and you hear a click. You hear ominous chanting as you encounter a strange ceremony.
Oh my goodness! Excuse me, I was looking for the women's lounge?
You're coming with us, young lady.
I think you're making a mistake.
You've seen too much. We can't let you go.
Not to worry. I won't remember seeing this room, or you, or anything. Really. I've got a terrible memory. Can't even remember my own name half the time.
I'm sorry you found us. Our cult of Amon Ra must remain a secret. There is too much at stake here. Too many important people are involved.
Cult of Amon Ra? In the museum basement?
This room is a forgotten part of the original museum. We are safe here, as long as no outsiders are aware of our existence.
Oh, well, my lips are sealed. If you want to dance and sing and have little meetings down here, that's your business.
You cannot be trusted, Miss Bow. You're a newspaper reporter. We could be a featured article on page 1 of tomorrow's newspaper if we let you go.
But people are going to miss me. They'll search the museum.
The police will never find this room or your body.
You don't really plan to kill me, do you?
Of course not.
What a relief.
Kill is such an ugly word. Actually, we're going to sacrifice you to Amon Ra.
Can we talk about this?
There is nothing to discuss. You should be proud to die in such an honorable fashion. Young Egyptian maidens used to fight for the privilege of being sacrificed to the great Amon Ra.
Now wait a minute. I thought the ancient Egyptians didn't make human sacrifices.
You're familiar with the history of ancient Egypt, Miss Bow?
Well, I've learned a few things.
Perhaps we could test you.
Do I have any other options?
We can test you or sacrifice you. It's your choice.
I'm liking this idea more and more. What kind of a test is it?
Amon Ra may choose to intervene on your behalf. It is our tradition that we must let you live if you can answer Amon Ra's riddle.
Great.
Of course, you'll have to answer the riddle with hieroglyphics.
I was afraid it would be something like that. Okay, what's the riddle?
Actually, it's a two-part riddle. What is the room you leave without entering? That's correct. Now, the second riddle. What is the room you enter without leaving? Very impressive. You are the first person who ever answered that riddle correctly. The wise Amon Ra apparently wants us to spare your life. Will you swear to keep our location a secret?
Of course.
Then you may leave. May the great Amon Ra guide your footsteps.
Thank you. Now I just have to outrun the person who's been chasing me.
Who is chasing you? Do you think they'll find their way in here?
I'm not sure who it is, but I believe it's the same person who stole the Dagger of Amon Ra from its display case. And I'm sure they'll find their way in here.
If that is true, they will not leave this room alive. I suggest you leave through our secret escape route behind the altar. Go now, and remember your promise.
There's an unconscious man in the coal bin. Although the coal has dirtied his face and hair, it looks suspiciously like Steve. There's an unconscious man. Steve, being the large, unconscious type stevedore he is immovable in his current unconscious state.
Oh, my head. What happened? Laura?
Yes, Steve. I was so worried about you. Are you all right?
I think so. I remember hearing somebody coming up behind me, and as I turned around, somebody slugged me. Cripes, my head hurts.
They must have dumped you down the coal chute. Let me see where you were hit.
I'm all right. Don't touch it.
Honestly, you men can be such crybabies. Do you think you can walk? We have to get out of here. Somebody's been murdering everybody in this museum, and whoever it is after me.
I can make it. I'm with you. Where do we go?
Good question.
A large, circular, ornately carved stone is hung on the wall here. It seems to be attached to upper and lower tracks which run for several feet across the wall. It's too dark to see anything in here. If your herpetology doesn't fail you, you're pretty sure these are king cobras. Don't touch it. Don't touch it. You hear the sound of gunfire from the direction of the furnace room.
Sounds like someone's chasing us, Laura.
You watch in relief as the last of the rats scurries out of sight. You can barely smell an unpleasant odor, like burning hair. Keep this up and you'll put the entire NYPD to shame.
Thank you for coming to this inquest, Miss Bow. As the coroner on this case, I'm going to informally question you and study the evidence you've collected. If you assist me in developing a case, the perpetrators will be tried in the formal court of law. We're primarily concerned with the museum murders, but we're also interested in the theft of the Dagger of Amon Ra and other matters that may have a bearing on this case. My examination of the corpses has been fruitful, but I need more evidence to build a case. Any information you can give us would help, but you must justify your conclusions with the evidence you've acquired. False accusations and unsupported conclusions will not be tolerated. Although I don't wish to pressure you, your employer is also here to judge your performance on this investigation. Since this is an informal proceeding, I've allowed it on the basis that your newspaper will cooperate with our wishes. Now, to the questions. Who murdered Dr. Pippin Carter? Who murdered Lawrence Ziggy Ziegfeld? Who murdered Ernie Leach? Who murdered Yvette Delacroix? Who murdered Countess Lavinia Waldorf-Carleton? Who was the skeleton found in the steamer trunk? Who murdered Dr. Archibald Carrington? Who impersonated Dr. Archibald Carrington? Who murdered Watney Little? Who actually stole the Dagger of Amon Ra from the Ancient Egypt exhibit? Who manipulated Watney Little into stealing the Dagger of Amon Ra? Who was the woman involved in stealing paintings from the Old Masters Gallery? Based on what we now know, your assumption is correct, Miss Bow. Good work. Who was the man involved in stealing paintings from the Old Masters Gallery? Based on what we now know, your assumption is correct, Miss Bow. Good work. Who was the middleman who provided forged paintings for the Countess and sold the real ones for her? Based on what we now know, your assumption is correct, Miss Bow. Good work. Who is the high priest of the Amon Ra sun worshippers? That's correct, Miss Bow. You're very observant. Which museum employee runs a fencing operation as a sideline business? That assumption is correct. Mr. Leach was moonlighting with his own business as a fence installer. In fact, he put up a very nice fence around my house.
I have one final piece of evidence to present, Mr. Coroner. I have an eyewitness who would only feel safe to come forth if I established my case against Mr. O'Reilly. Now that I've done so, let me introduce Dr. Patah Sheptut Smith of the Cairo Museum.
Mr. Smith's testimony is safe with us.
Many thanks. I was in the Egyptian ceremonial room underneath the museum when Detective O'Reilly killed two of my fellow sun worshippers. I saw with my own eyes how he gunned them down without mercy when they tried to stop him from chasing Miss Bow. However, we only managed to slow him down. His hood fell back briefly, revealing his evil face to us as he slaughtered our people. That son of a camel should not be allowed to run free upon the sands.
Will you testify in court to what you witnessed, Mr. Smith?
Happily, sir. My dead fellows expect their revenge, although Amon Ra will certainly destroy O'Reilly's car when he journeys through the underworld.
I'm not qualified to give my opinion on Mr. O'Reilly's spirit in the next world, Mr. Smith, but I'm sure your testimony will help your dead friends sleep peacefully. Thank you for coming forth. I must admit that I'm impressed by your methods, Miss Bow. Not only have you identified the murderers of those unfortunate individuals, but you have also uncovered the skullduggery involving the Dagger of Amon Ra. Our case is very strong now and prosecution can begin. The New York Police Department owes you a debt of gratitude for your assistance in apprehending these malefactors. I'm sure that a commendation of valor from the police department is in order. Thank you for your help.
It's all that lousy reporter's fault. Damned interfering Laura Bow. Thinks she can get away with squealing on me, does she? Well, she's got another thing coming. Do you hear me, Laura Bow? You'll pay for this. If it's the last thing I ever do!
Thank you for waiting, Laura.
I didn't mind, Steve.
Laura,
Yes?
would you mind... do you suppose... Laura, could you close your eyes? I have something for you.
Oh, I suppose so. Oh, Steve!
Do you like it?
Steve, how could you? How could you have stolen the dagger?
I didn't steal the dagger, Laura. I bought this copy for you at the museum gift shop. I thought you might like a memento of your big night at the Leyendecker Museum.
Oh, thank you, Steve. I'm so embarrassed.
You're beautiful when you blush. Laura,
Yes, Steve?
would you consider joining me for dinner this coming Saturday?
Well, I'm not sure if I don't know if I should really. Yes. Yes, I'd be delighted to join you for dinner.
Thank you, Laura. You've made me very happy.
Oh, Steve.
Oh, Laura.
Oh, Steve.
Since his skeleton was so nicely cleaned by the domestic beetles, Dr. Carrington's bones will soon be hanging on display in the Leyendecker Museum. Yvette Delacroix died plastered. Her remarkably lifelike statue now lives on in the Old Masters Gallery of the Leyendecker Museum. Her memory lives on in the minds of all she touched. Her sculpture is attributed to Ryan O'Reilly, 1926. Pleased by your success at finding his Dagger of Amon Ra and his murderer, Dr. Pippin Carter now rests in peace. Pippin Carter's body was transported to Egypt by his cousin and now occupies a place of archaeological honor in the Temple of Amon Ra in the Valley of the Kings. Due to your success at recovering the Dagger of Amon Ra and finding the murderer, Wolf Heimlich continued as chief of security at the Leyendecker Museum. 2 months later, he was married to Dr. Olympia Miklos. 2 years after they were married, Wolf and Olympia had a child they named Morgana Wolf Heimlich. Having died in the course of this story, Watney Little's life of crime came to an abrupt end. As he was not a nice man, nobody missed him. Due to your success at recovering the Dagger of Amon Ra and finding the murderer, Dr. Olympia Miklos married Wolf Heimlich, who continued as chief of security at the Leyendecker Museum. 2 years after they were married, Wolf and Olympia had a child they named Morgana Wolf Heimlich. As fond as he was of the Leyendecker, Ernie Leach noted in his will that he wanted his body donated to the museum. His body now resides in numerous small jars of alcohol, which will be placed on display in the new Hall of Internal Biology, adjacent to the Hall of Late Mammals. Dr. Patar Sheptut Tut Smith finally gave up on getting the Dagger of Amon Ra returned to Egypt. However, once it completed its US and European museum tours, it was returned to the Cairo Museum anyway. So, several years later, Tut died a happy man, even though his death was the result of an Egyptian cobra bite. After losing his head in the museum, Ziggy found himself unable to continue his criminal career. His head has been preserved and is now on display in the Life Mask exhibit at the Leyendecker Museum. Ramses Najir continued his successful career as an accountant and as head of the secret Egyptian cult of Amon Ra. With his strong high society ties, his accounting business made Ramses a millionaire in 15 years. Having died from a snake bite, the Countess Lavinia Waldorf Carlton did not live long enough to inherit any money from her last husband, Sterling. Thoroughly impressed by your success as a reporter, your editor Sam Augustini nominated you for a Pulitzer Prize and was present when you received your citation of valor from the police department. Sam retired 10 years later to become a gentleman cabbage farmer, fulfilling a secret lifelong dream. Pleased at your success, Crodfoller T. Rhubarb was happy to become your assistant at the New York Daily Register News Tribune. Henri Lamour, the coroner, continued his successful career studying dead bodies for the next 50 years, finally retiring in 1976 to tour with a rock band, the Ungrateful Dead. Low Fat continued in the laundry business, eventually opening a chain of low-fat Chinese laundries across the country and becoming a millionaire in the process. Former Detective Ryan Hanrahan O'Reilly was sentenced to 60 years in a state penitentiary. Having been a cop, O'Reilly found it hard to make friends in prison. After your successful completion of the museum assignment, you started dating Steve Dorian. Thrilled with your success, John Bowe spent the rest of his life telling people what a wonderful daughter you were and how he had taught you everything you knew about criminology. After your recovery of the Dagger of Amon Ra, it went back on display at the Leyendecker Museum. The large amount of press coverage drew many patrons to the museum to see the dagger. After 2 years on display at the Leyendecker, the Dagger exhibit continued on a tour of museums in the United States, Europe, and finally found its way back to the Cairo Museum in Egypt.